Hello, welcome back to my channel where today I'll be restyling my Pinkie Pie wig into something a little bit more professional. So previously I did vaguely style this wig. I cut the fringe to fit my face a little bit better and then I decorated it with some little beads that I had. But I really wanted to try and professionally style this wig so it looks more cartoony and less out of the box, very regular cosplay wig. But I definitely wanted to keep the same exact style as before as I feel like it really fits the character. So we're still going to do a half up, half down look, but we're going to style it so the ponytails look like they're actually being tied together. And we're also going to make it look very cartoony by having some gravity-defying pigtails. The first step of this process was segmenting out the wig just so I knew exactly where everything was going to go. And I did this on my new wig form that attaches to my desk. It was so helpful having a wig form that I could pull around without pulling over. Previously when I had wig forms they were just styrofoam ones that I'd have on a table, and they do not work as well as this. I would highly recommend this one, it's so good. I do feel like I shouldn't have got it in pink because you can't really see it very well in this section, but I do just really like the colour pink, so I got the pink one. But anyway, back to the process. Like I said before, I wanted it half up, half down, so I just decided where I wanted the pigtails to be. And I wanted them quite far back on the head because I felt like that would look more like a cartoon character, rather than having them come out the side of my head, which I feel looks a little bit more like a video game style. I don't know if you agree with me on that, but to me that just reads video game, while having them go backward reads more cartoon. With the wig now in sections, I went and removed all the wefts from the section where I'm going to have the pigtails come out of. I've seen people online cut it and I feel like that might have worked a bit better, just because it leaves a little bit of a better base for sticking things to. But I decided to remove them like this because I wanted to use the wefts later on, and I didn't want hair all over my bedroom. It didn't really work, there is definitely hair everywhere. I feel like I'm breathing it in all the time, but it definitely saved me a lot of cleanup and a lot of annoyance doing it this way. Also doing it this way meant that I could use my seam ripper for it, which I always find very satisfying. I honestly really love using a seam ripper. They are just very fun things to do. They're just like little sharp hooks that you hook underneath a thread and it just breaks the thread so easily. If you ever have like loose buttons that you can't really pull off properly, I would get a seam ripper, just push it underneath and it'll just pop the button off so easily. They are such a helpful little tiny sewing tool. With all the hair off the wig, I can now make a structure for holding the ponytails in place, and I decided to use water bottles for this. I've seen a few people do it. I will try and put some reference TikToks on the screen if I can find any. It's definitely not an original idea, I just thought it would work so well for this because it gives a lot of structure so they're going to hold their place, while also being very light because I wanted to put quite a lot of hair on these pigtails, so I didn't want the wig to feel really heavy. Also, it's good to recycle. I already had these laying around in my house because I sometimes get given them from work, and I never really use them. I don't really take water bottles out with me, so I felt like this was a better use for them, quite honestly. And what I did was I took the top half of the water bottle and I cut it into like a starfish shape so it could go directly onto the wig, and then I attached the lid of the water bottle to the bottom of the water bottle so they can screw into that base structure and they will form the little pigtail bases. But before I could attach the bases, I really wanted to cover the base of the wig because it was a very light colour, and I knew that this would show through very easily. So for this, I just used fabric that was left over from when I made the cosplay and glued it into place onto the wig. And as you can see, I did pull a plastic bag over the wig form. I did this so it wouldn't stick directly to it because I knew it would ruin it. And it actually worked really well. I was very worried when taking it off that it was just not going to work and it would have all stuck together. But no, it actually came off the bag super easily. It didn't break any of the things that I had done, so I'd highly recommend doing this if you're doing any wig styling. It just makes everything a little bit easier and a little bit less nerve-wracking. With the base covered, I then glued the structure into place. I glued the plastic bases down with super glue, and then I covered these bases with a little bit more fabric just so it blends in a little bit better and I wouldn't have that shiny plastic underneath the wefts. And to glue the fabric down, I use PVA glue, which I use a lot for this cosplay wig. I like it because it's quite flexible when it dries, so you can cover big areas with it without worrying that it's going to all fall apart when you stretch the wig, because obviously I need to get the wig over my head, so it does need a little bit of stretch. It doesn't need a load of stretch, but it does need to be able to shuffle over my hair. With the base finally all finished, we can move on to the fun part of this wig, which is putting on the new hair. And I started out with the wefts I cut off before and I straightened them just to make it a little bit easier, because when you pull even curly hair back into a ponytail, it looks quite flat and straight against the scalp. So I thought it would be much easier just to straighten it to start off with. And then I moved on to attaching it to the wig, and when I was attaching it to the wig, I just wanted to have that pulled effect of an actual ponytail. So I started out by putting one weft around the bottle cap and kind of just letting it fall out around it to get that more natural shape to it. This really helped me out as a base layer. and then I went in and added a load of wefts on top of it. Some of them I glued flat off camera and then cut them out and glued them on. Others I glued directly onto the wig. It just depended what mood I was in, quite honestly. And it worked really well. You just have to be really patient with it because sometimes it looks really bad and other times it looks really good. Like when I had that first layer on, I was really worried it wasn't going to work. But then the more layers I put on and the more I cut away, making that nice perfect shape, the more I felt like it looked like a professional wig. There are definitely gaps in this, especially around the edges where I completely missed sections. But for it being my first wig, I'm very proud of it. I feel like it looks quite good and looks very readable, especially from across a room, which is exactly what I wanted to go for. I wanted to go for extreme realism. But in the future, I feel like I could definitely be more careful around the edges. Maybe make a bigger base so it covers up those wefts at the front of the wig especially, because I feel like it would just make it look a little bit more complete. Also, if you're going to do this and you're cutting the edges, be more careful than I was because I cut into the back of the wig a few times. I didn't really notice until I finished the wig. I don't know how I didn't notice, to be honest, because one of the sections is really obvious. And I wish I had just put a piece of the fabric underneath that section to make it blend a bit better. But yeah, I wasn't being very careful, especially around the back, because I felt like it didn't really matter. I just wish I'd been a little bit more purposeful when it came to this wig. I still think it came out really good, but just for future reference, I just want to take a little bit more time on it. The process for the pigtails is incredibly similar to the base of the wig. I started out by wrapping my structure piece in that same pink fabric. Just like before, this is in case the wefts don't fully cover it. I don't want to have any plastic showing through because I know that would look quite ugly. And then I went on to ripping apart the original ponytails that I had. These are so easy to take apart, they're just on like a flat piece of wig cap. So once again, I just used my seam ripper just to rip them all out. And it was very satisfying because they'd done them in like a zigzag pattern. So it was so much fun to do. Honestly, the best part of making this wig was taking it apart. The putting it back together was quite frustrating, but taking it apart was really fun. I would highly recommend doing that. But yeah, once I had all my wefts, I then wrapped them around in a circle around my base. I did this because I knew it would hide all those wefts and it would also give it a more natural fall when it actually is attached to the wig. And also it meant that I wouldn't have to use too much of the wefts. I didn't want to have too much hair on this because I didn't want to add too much weight, but I also wanted them to be quite thin and controlled. I know it would probably work a little bit better for the character if they were a little bit more messy, but for my personal taste, I like a really thin, neat ponytail, especially for drag looks, and I feel like this wig would be perfect for a drag look because I really want my wigs to be a bit more versatile and to be able to be used for multiple looks. I don't want them to be very specific to one character only. So while obviously this is very based off Pinkie Pie, it's not specifically a Pinkie Pie wig anymore. But anyway, moving back onto the process, because I wanted to have a very structured look to the base of the ponytail, I did glue the top layer of the hair down onto that structure piece. It looks kind of strange when I'm originally doing it, but once you see it on the head, I feel like it makes a lot more sense and it looks a lot better. And then to finish off the tails, I just put a ring of hair around the bottom of them, just to hide that little gap that was appearing. And I feel like it looks really professional. I'm so happy with how the pigtails turned out. One side is definitely messier than the other, you can tell which one I did first. But either way, I really do like them. Lastly, we're on to the decorating stage. I really liked having the little clips on the wig originally, so I wanted to do that again, but obviously because it's all glued, I couldn't just put clips in the hair. So instead I got these hair beads and I cut them all in half and then I glued them flat onto the wig. It worked quite well actually. Some of them did fall off when I put the wig on because when stretching the wig it just knocks them off. So maybe I should have used a stronger glue for this, but I don't know if that would have made much of a difference because I feel like it is just the movement of the wig that is knocking them off. But I do feel like they really added to the final result and they look really adorable and they kind of bring the character to life a little bit more. So I'm really happy with my decision to do this. But yeah, that is actually it for the whole of the process. So I'm actually going to go on to the final result. So that is the whole wig all finished. I am so happy with how it turned out. It's like a little helmet. It is quite hard on your head. It's so interesting to wear. It doesn't feel like you're wearing a wig at all. As you can see, I can just like pull it around and it doesn't move. But anyway, please let me know your thoughts on this wig down below. I'm really interested to hear what you think I could do better next time. And if you did enjoy this video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel because I try and post a video every single week and I'd love to see you again. But until then, bye!